the annual family festive get-together. I feel that's the only time we sort of really talk about all things going on. And, you know, like when you have all the family coming around the table and coming back to the house. What's been going on? How's your year been?
I'm continually proud to say it, that I work for the first and only 3 Michelin-starred Indian restaurant in the world.
And Liam, for yourself, second year as a dad.
I was listening to the podcast last year and I remember what was happening at that time, and now he's running fearlessly, chatting, saying words. We have to watch what words we say around him now because he's a bit of a parakeet. So
how about then trends that you'd like to sort of see or to stay, or perhaps trends that you'd like to sort of see the back of?
A slow, educated rollout of not rushing to market is really nice to see. So the trend I want to see is that community, that it is always okay to reach out to somebody on Instagram, on whatever. If they have time for you, they will give it to you.
Do you think it would work if you were to put Khaliji cuisine, or we'll try and be as specific as possible, let's say Emirati, in a setting like Rowan 45 or FZN? Do you think that would work?
You need a charismatic storyteller who can come in, who is part of the community and be able to tell that story effectively, but also to tell it very progressively.
A very warm welcome to the Chef JKP Podcast, and this time it's the festive special. We have Liam and Courtney back again in the hot seat, telling us the full rundown of all things happened in 2025. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of all of this, don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe. Click that subscribe button on YouTube as it helps the show to grow massively. There's a lot of gossip happened this year. A lot of things, people losing Michelin stars, people coming into town, and oh boy, it's a phenomenal episode. So, get strapped in. In the words of the one and only, my favorite actor in the world, and he's been in Anchorman as Ron Burgundy. He's been in many films. But in the words of my favorite film, Elf, Santa's coming to town! So make sure you're ready. Time to rock and roll.
Hey, it's Courtney Brandt. I'm a food writer in Dubai. And if you like this podcast, please make sure to follow, share, and subscribe.
Hey everyone, this is Liam Collins. I am a food writer here in Dubai, and we have just recorded the Christmas special for the Chef JKP Podcast. And if you are not subscribing and listening to the podcast, you're not using the internet properly. So if you've liked this podcast, make sure that you follow, share, and subscribe.
Liam and Courtney.
Hello.
A very warm welcome to the annual family festive get-together. I feel that's the only time we sort of really talk about all things going on. And, you know, like when you have all the family coming around the table and coming back to the house. So I'm really excited, genuinely.
I love you put it on the calendar and it's like locked on the calendar.
It is locked in.
I look forward to it every year.
So, Courtney, with you, what's been going on? How's your year been?
Well, I don't know if you've heard. I'm continually proud to say it, that I work for the first and only 3 Michelin-starred Indian restaurant in the world.
Yeah.
So my May was very big. The accolades absolutely did not stop there. I have a very small part in this, but Chef Ahmad Husseini was recognized as number 3 in the world by Best Chefs. We got an inaugural Tatler in there, Middle East. So that's been big. And then I've also stepped into a little beverage role. There is a wonderful sparkling tea called Saicho, and so it's been unexpected, but in the best possible way.
Incredible. And we'll get all into the details throughout the show about this because I want to hear more.
Okay.
Of course. And Liam, for yourself, second year as a dad, how is it going?
Yeah, it's the second tour of duty. It's great. Each year is different. I was listening to the podcast last year, and I remember what was happening at that time. And now he's running fearlessly, chatting, saying words. We have to watch what words we say around him now because he's a bit of a parakeet. So yeah. So that's been the big one. Work. My main work job has been absolutely intense. Setting up companies, divesting companies. You know, all this sort of stuff. So that took up a lot of my 2025. And then after that, it was renovations at the house in Italy and trying to write about, I would say, the lesser known restaurants around here in Dubai.
I was going to ask you also, so Rufus is your beautiful baby boy.
Yeah.
Does he take after his father? Is he a foodie?
Yes. So he likes bold flavors, and we're at this stage where we're now enjoying kind of experimenting with the things that he likes to eat. So he likes mutton biryani in particular. That's his favorite.
And how old is he?
He's 2. He's just turned 2.
Very good.
But let's also, this is a great segue. Who was present for his second? What food did you serve, and did he enjoy?
Yeah. So
themed.
Okay.
Yeah. So his second birthday party was ducks and carrots. His mother can take responsibility for that. And then the very good people at 21 Grams had heard about this theme, and they sent over a confit duck and brown butter phyllo pie, which is and Stasha, if you're listening, this should be on your Christmas special menu. I'm telling you. And they also did a cinnamon carrot cheesecake phyllo pie as well. So it was, and I've just got these pictures of him like with the curled husk of the phyllo pie, like nom, 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 eating it, running around the garden, and all that sort of business. So yeah,
what a total little legend.
Yeah, it was great.
Sleeps with his own little. He sleeps with a spoon.
So he's now in this stage where, by the way, this is the childhood catch-up podcast if everyone is listening, but he now sleeps with kitchen implements when he goes to bed. So like we'll regularly go to bed and he'll have like a spatula or like a wine bottle opener, corkscrew, or so, which is very dangerous, but he managed, and if you try to take it off him, he sort of screams. So we have to let him sleep with this wooden spoon or something like that, and then take it off him in the middle of the night.
Incredible.
Yeah, weird.
So I have
again.
one for you.
Thank you, sir.
You don't need to open them now, but these are. It's a.
Festive.
It's a little thank you gifts from my side, and yes.
And can I ask what you've been up to this year?
Yes. So this year again has been, as both of you, super busy. Started a new job.
Congratulations.
So I said, I handed over the reins to the good people at Reba, and it's still, doing its thing, which is fantastic. And now I'm working with Chef Middle East.
Congrats.
They've opened Epicure Studio, which is, an all singing, all dancing sort of center of excellence. Yeah. And also the cool thing is, Chef Middle East is the official partner of Michelin, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
You had a very nice spread at the ceremony. Yes. Kept going back up there.
And also the Bocuse Foundation.
Wow.
So 2 big names. But also apart from that, it is literally a center of excellence. So you've got sort of 2 stages within the warehouse, a 50-seat amphitheater downstairs, a bar, chef's table, all of that kind of stuff, which is really, really cool. And then upstairs, it's broken into 3 parts. So culinary section, bakery and pastry, and anybody can come in, do development, so on and so forth. So it works as a really incredible space. And of course, the podcast has been non-stop. I call it the Japanese train, which doesn't stop now.
Bullet train.
Yeah, so it's been amazing. We've had some phenomenal guests, and it's growing and growing and growing. So yeah, let's see where it's going to take us. But it's doing really well, the show, and we're getting people from all over the world listening, and now they're coming in and typing and. So there's a lot of engagement, which is great.
I loved the time out, not just because I was on it, but I thought what a great space to do something, because it's such a unique venue in the city.
Yeah, we did that, and in tandem we also did Valrhona did their 100-year event. I think 100 year or 130, I can't remember.
Yes, it was a special that you had.
But yeah, and it was at the Louvre, Abu Dhabi, and again we were interviewing the chefs there, so we went out there to do that. So yeah, and there's a lot going on. So we're trying to take the the podcast out.
Yeah.
Here, there, and everywhere, and so it's really nice.
Honestly, congratulations to you. Like I know people who aren't even in the food space, and they listen to the podcast, and so it's creating that kind of noise, and I think you're really leading the charge.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you.
No, again, it's all about the guests.
Yeah,
it's really important.
Well, when he's right, he's right.
So let's begin. First things first. Let's talk about the foodie events that have happened this year. So in January, we had, of course, Gulf Food. Then we had Go Malo. But the one that I want to talk about first in particular was MENA's 50 Best.
Sure.
Of course, we know the Ofali legends are number one. Of course, we know that. Tresind, hot in at number 2. But the one that struck me the most, because I know him personally. He's been on the show, but it's a complete left field one. Is Marmalata.
That was
Raj.
a great interview, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And he's a great guy.
Yes.
But the fact that it's a pizza place, but they're in MENA's 50 Best.
Yep.
I just thought, well, what the team is doing behind MENA's 50 and the global team. I thought it was quite interesting, no?
Yeah.
But when you're right. I think, unfortunately, still had not the chance because I'm a lunch person, and when I find myself in Abu Dhabi, I'm usually there for dinner that is an invited dinner, and so I have missed out on this opportunity. But to your point, in January of this year, watching Chef walk around the room and just be beloved by everyone, I think, it speaks to, food does come from the heart, and you could see that he really puts that into everything that he does.
Yeah, absolutely. But also what was also really nice for me to see is that there weren't so many corporate names.
Yes.
It was super local.
Yes.
It was really, really wonderful to see, people regionally, from Egypt. Of course, from our region, from Amman in Jordan. I thought it was really wonderful.
I think you're still seeing the UAE dominating, and I haven't done as much traveling in the region as I would like, but my general impression is that the UAE is the most mature or the most diversified of the culinary markets in this part of the world. But you are starting to see these other places popping up. Even in Egypt, I think it was Khofus was the one to watch at the World 50 Best Awards. That's fantastic. Yeah. Lovely to see Egypt getting some representation on the global stage. Of the restaurants that were here in the UAE, Neha was number 3. And I think if you look at the top 3 in MENA 50 Best now, you've got Ofali at number 1, you've got Kenour at number 3. I think that says a little bit about the voters in that, they're going to the places which are probably more accessible, right? Probably the places where they can go to 10, 12 times a year. And so you're starting to see those places pop up. I think Marmalata feeds into that narrative. You've got 21 grams that feeds into that narrative. You do still have the fine dining places, Trezin Studio, of course, Rome 45. Yeah. Lovely to see Takahisa getting some acknowledgements. Finally, right? Lovely to see them getting some acknowledgements as well too. But I think there's a general maturity happening. What I was a little surprised, because I'm just curious, is Saudi is not on that list as much as I would have thought, because I can hear the drumbeat from Saudi. I can hear the maturity of that market coming, from over there, all the way from over here in Dubai. And who knows, maybe, I think we'll probably get to Michelin soon, but it'd be interesting to see what impact the Saudi Michelin Guide has on 50 Best and other awards in the region, and are they going to get, what is their fair share of representation in this list?
What were your thoughts, Courtney?
I think if you would have asked me the first year, I was really upset. And no, I mean, there were people in the room having to console me because I think
I remember.
Yes. I feel this deeply across everything. But I think, as we've all said, that just to see the maturity and from the beginning, I said that the MENA's 50 Best list will be the one that changes the most, I think, year to year. And because we have always somebody new coming to the market. So Afsadan didn't exist, however many years ago. Rowan 45. New to market, Trust and Studio, we just hit 7 years. So you have this space that maybe doesn't exist in other markets to go, we're changing something every year, or you see the likes of Jordan and you have Chef Sarah and Chef Ali, and they're doing their amazing things and people are getting switched on to that. I just think our region is really special in that case. So I love the direction it's going. Can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah, and I agree with sort of Liam's point last year. He said, the 50 best list is kind of what's hot right now.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting to see, and it's coming up obviously next year in February. So
back to back, we've got Go On Mio, I think, on a Monday, and MENA's on a Tuesday.
Yeah,
you're seeing it globally, right? So then you also had Orfali and Trezor Studio in the top 50 this year, and Orfali coming up that
Way
list.
up.
I think they were they in the bottom 50? I think in the previous list, and so
Yes.
now they're in the top 50. So it'd be interesting to see how much vote splitting there is, and all this sort of stuff that's happening. But to now start having MENA 50 best representation, in the top 50 list, and Khufus as the one to watch as well too. 3 spots in a list of 50, not bad. Love to see more, not bad.
yeah. So then now, in 2013, when I was just sort of, I think it was Davina Devicha. She asked me. She asked me to do a sort of talk in a forum at the Ritz-Carlton.
Sounds lovely.
About Michelin, and it was actually about Michelin, right? And I was talking about how we have, and that was back then. I was talking about the talent that we have, all of that kind of thing. So this year, something historic happened in the region, and quite rightly. Friend Himanshu and total legend, and the team at Trescent received 3 stars.
Yes.
And of course, the talented people in FZN, Bjorn, Torsten. But first of all, Courtney, over to you directly with the team. Last year you said Monsieur Michelin.
I'm polite, if nothing else.
Mr. Gwendol wasn't here.
Yes.
This year, he was here. So I was like,
It's so funny in the community, and how and when the inspectors or alleged inspectors are in town, and how we come together as a community, that everybody, there's rumors. We don't know for sure who it is when they are here, but you see a number, and then you kind of see their take on service. Having a second or third visit is good, but it's never guaranteed. And for anybody who wants to know, I absolutely did not know, and Chef had to keep me in the dark. So at the ceremony, it was the first time I was hearing it. They had done a pre-record the day before with Gwendol, and it was, it's magic. Like I always get goosebumps whenever I watch the video. Chef and I saw each other a few days after. We're still crying. Every time I walk in and see that plaque on the wall, it's something amazing. Yeah. And then we had a renovation this summer. And I think that now it's like everything matches. Service levels, all-time highs, led, of course, by Vipin, General Manager of the Year for Go and Mio. And it is truly just amazing to see people come into this space and really be transformed. And that goes across all things. Like we have a very famous ritual, the Sadia ritual, and it is now
very famous.
Yes,
it's virally famous.
It's so interesting, and Chef spoke about this last year at Best Chefs, and I think the question was like, does this bother you? And it's like, no, food should challenge everything. Food should say, what is it? What is different about this? What is making me kind of pay attention? And you've both not been back, but when you go in, he'll add a ring to the tree every year. Yeah. And I guessed it right. Yep. Yes. Yeah. So anyway, I could talk infinity, but the impact is huge. How it's felt around, I'm not part of the Indian community, but that pride shines through so loudly, just really across any journalists from there, chefs from there, and to see them come together has just been really a beautiful thing.
And also the fact that, when we were here last year, we discussed about FZN, and we were saying, are they going to come in at 1? Are they, but the fact that they literally came in hot
Yes.
at 3 stars.
And that's 3 for 3 for
Yeah.
Chef Bjorn, which is, I think he's the first.
Yeah, I think he's the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually have to give all credit to their team because it was a historic night for them. A lot of the focus was on us, but they handled that just so beautifully and professionally. And I am still, I'm a huge fan of that team, but in that moment, to let them kind of to let us kind of have it, I just, it was very special. Very special.
It's chivalrous. Yeah.
Yes.
It's very chivalrous of them. Yeah.
And also the fact that, it's quite interesting that we had a local hero.
Yes. I wonder how much of that was
Right,
the play.
right, local hero, and then of course the heavyweight, let's say.
Yeah.
But I think that for me was such an incredible event overall. It was we had everybody who's everybody. Even Chef Akmal brought his parents on stage.
Yes, he said that on the pod, didn't he, as well?
Which was really nice. But it was just an amazing evening all round.
I was working I was reading through quite a large contract at the time of the awards.
You did come to the after party.
I did come to the
after party.
And a couple of things stood out to me. I think the sort of chivalry of the FZN team, I thought that really spoke to their profession. They had the moment. They deserve it.
100%.
We've been to the restaurant, like hats off to them,
Yes.
golf clap, everything. But then what stood out to me was Himanshu. We all know Himanshu very well, and he's a very polite, reserved, he's very well brought up, young man. But he let go for a moment on stage, and you could just see the cumulative years sort of just shed. And he was like, you could hear a ceiling being cracked. A billion people felt heard on stage and had 3 stars given to them, and that's actually what that moment represented for everybody.
Absolutely.
Which is just incredible. The one moment I think doesn't get enough attention from the Michelin Guide was the Jamavar chef. So I actually thought his speech was the most moving. And it felt like that moment where, when you see at the Oscars, someone has Best Actress or Best Actor, and you could kind of hear the orchestra starting to play, get off it. But he kept going. And I think last year we talked about Jason Atherton and how emotional he was at winning his 2 stars. I think the chef at Jamavar, for me, really embodied, we write cynically and we write strong words about Michelin and things like that, but it still means something to people. And that guy got on stage and he has Michelin stars elsewhere in the world. And you could see for a moment, like, this is what it means. This award still means something to people, and to professionals. And I felt deeply moved by his words. And then Himanshu did the same, a couple of minutes later.
The MENA team as well, I thought very well recognized to come in right where they should be. And then to have a young chef not only be recognized as the Young Chef of the Year, and then to stay on that stage and collect the star, obviously.
That was lovely.
Yeah, with Chef Orfali.
I think he was in the wild. You could see he was like, what's happening?
Yeah. But it's and now also recognized in Tatler as well. So it's resonating. It's not just Dubai anymore. Obviously the Michelin Guide, has been around for 125 years, but now you see these different things, and I think a lot of them are getting it right. As you said to start, we are past, there's always a time and place for a chain restaurant. They do things very well, very consistently, but we're seeing that originality have the impact.
Yeah, but also, Trescent is also going abroad.
Yes,
Right?
we are.
So that shows a huge amount of maturity and also trust, from international markets. So how is that going?
It's going. Obviously, Chef Himanshu is the exec chef over Passion F&B. We're looking at February. I don't have an exact date. I'm sorry. So this will be in Mayfair. It will be Trescent, so familiar flavors. I think a little more accessible to more people. I look forward to hopefully going later in the year. And you heard it here first, but there are rumors of the a U.S. property as well.
Wow.
Yes.
Exciting.
A busy 2026 in the rear view, straight ahead.
We'll have to book Liam to
Yes, we will.
We will. But the broader narrative to that, and we talked about this last year, is that Dubai now being an exporter of talent, right? So we talked about, Panchali and Atelier Group last time. We said that Gaia and all those other restaurants had gone to London too. Now Tresent's going as well too. So Dubai, 10 years ago, when we all moved here, was the importer of talents. This big name chef, come here, turn up twice a year, receive your check, thank you very much. Now it's homegrown talent going out, right, and starting to plant flags in different places. And
it's really cool.
You love to see it.
You love to
see it.
Yeah.
But also what I found interesting about Michelin is that, you're right. People, right about Michelin, and of course, there's going to be
Two of them are here.
opinions everywhere. But it does mean still means a huge amount to the chefs. But the other one is that we now have Michelin keys. For hotels.
That's correct.
You know, so and Atlantis the Royal is the first one in the region to get 3. So I'll be interested to know if that is going to have any sort of impact, but I don't believe so.
ROI, I think so far, like I've spoken to a number of hoteliers. I think it's nice to have,
right?
But I think the marketing story is kind of different. Of course, we're proud of the Royal team. I've known a number of international journalists who've flown through just in the past month, and they were floored. They were like, "This, I've never experienced hospitality like this." I took a trip to the States this summer. I was deeply missing my UAE hospitality and modernity.
Love that, love it. But then we also spoke last year about the regional Michelin Awards, and it was the first. So Doha,
Qatar,
that was interesting. There were, I think, a total of 3 or 4 stars. It wasn't
all international, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't a huge ceremony, but again, really good to have it there. And on the 9th of December is going to be the second one in Qatar, but also Saudi. Now, Saudi have got a completely let's say different approach, or the Michelin team.
Yes.
They are sort of announcing it a few times.
Yeah.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
So I spoke to the Michelin team wearing a different hat earlier this year, and they explained that ahead of time. And I thought, do you know what? This is a young market, and this is a place, if you're going to take a chance and do things a little less traditional, expectations, I think, for Saudi cuisine is different. So if you go into a market and you have Michelin, like Philippines just had their first, a lot of great chefs, a lot of good kitchens there. It wouldn't have worked there to roll it out the way that they're doing with Saudi. But I think Saudi, it's like, I see it as a partnership. Let's work together to maybe bring those kind of regional and local tastes up. I used to work at Georgetown in Doha, and we used to say they might not enter as a Georgetown student, but they will graduate as one. Right. And I see it as a partnership, and maybe that's the best for that specific market.
Yeah.
So I'll lead with the positive. I actually quite like the Saudi rollout in this respect. When I look as a customer, when I look at the website, it does look beautiful. So the thing about the typical Michelin website is it just feels like a grid, right? It feels like you're just scrolling. It looks like an eBay website in that sense, but it's just a grid of different restaurants, and that's lovely. I think what they've done from a leaning into a market perspective, where you kind of feel the soul of the country, that comes through in the website beautifully. Lovely drone shots of date farms and all this stuff. So I think execution-wise,
okay, very good.
I do look at that and think, oh, that's nice. And if I was a tourist and I'm thinking about coming to the UAE, or I'm thinking about going to Thailand, or I'm thinking about going to the Philippines, or I'm thinking about going to Saudi, it does kind of tantalize, right? So I think at an execution level, I actually would like to see Michelin do that for the other locations. And I think the UAE should be jealous, right, of the way that Saudi has rolled that out. Let's talk about the other issue from my perspective, and that is, this is very clear tourism board with its thumb on the scale, right, in terms of this rollout.
Yep.
And the thing that I've written about earlier this year, that Michelin has blinked, right, and they have said quite publicly and quite openly that in order to do this, it requires money. This is a very expensive endeavor. So things like the Michelin keys and things like the Michelin stars and all that sort of stuff, they have to fly judges out because they're still not here in the region. And we've talked about that on this pod. And so they have to bring the judges out in order to assess these places. I personally don't see how you can reconcile the fact that someone is paying you this money to come in and do these awards, and at the same time you still have this objectivity. I think that's now compromised, right? I don't see how you can pull that back. And you're telling me that the person who's paying you the check doesn't necessarily have an opinion as to who gets what and where you visit and all that sort of stuff. I think that's I think there's a fictitious split between those two things, and it'd be interesting to see how that plays out for the rest of the awards. We've known this has been happening in this region anyway for a while, and I think it's glad that Michelin are transparent about it. But I think, you can't convince me personally that there isn't some sort of hand in glove that's happening, or that Michelin don't necessarily feel like they have to bend the knee a little bit.
No, but I agree. I think it'd be interesting to see that split and how it plays out.
Yeah,
because we also have, for example, you have Roca there, you have Zuma, you have these bigger names.
Yeah.
So let's see. But again, I'd love to see more sort of Saudi local talent shine through. Of course,
don't we all?
Of course.
Yeah.
But then if we move on to Tatler's just come in, right? And I'm not too familiar with it. Courtney, you'll have to let me know how are they?
I just get emails for a lot of different things, and certain names in my inbox make me pay attention. Tatler is, to me, a really excellent publication in Asia. To me, that's the best access it has. They've obviously had their own awards, and now they've said, do you know what? Do you know our little neighbors over there in the Middle East? Let's do something with that. I think this year's inaugural Daniela, obviously from Takahisa, perfect.
Yep.
Now, Honeycomb Hi-Fi, us, Rowan 45, they nailed it. If I was to export, kind of a version of the Middle East, minus a few, of course, I've got other favorites, but I think they started in a great place. Will that drive people to the restaurant? I don't know. Are we getting, because in the span of November, I think you just have, it's like best chefs, then Tatler, then this, then all the local awards, which we can't take away from because they do excellent work. It's not a pivot for Trust and Studio to look more internationally. We'll always have local partners, but I am happy when the right publications take notice.
I mean, it is a big publication.
Yes.
But I'm just wondering, in your opinion, do you think we have too many awards? What's going on with that? Because you're right, we have to have the international and the local. Liam, over to you.
I think different awards, I think we are reaching a saturation. I think different awards play different roles. So people know that I write for Fact Magazine, for example, and there's other magazines here too in the region. And my feeling is that the role of those magazines now is to champion these restaurants at the early stages, bring the attention to them, and then hopefully that there's a chorus behind that within the international magazines start paying attention, or the international publications start paying attention. I think really as a consumer, the question is, what does this publication do for you? Michelin's got 125 years of equity, so people tend to follow that quite well. 50 Best is more of the where's hot now kind of a thing. So this is the zeitgeist where's really popular. Gomeo to me feels more very, very fine dining. So it's a little bit more niche. So if you're a customer coming into the region, you're probably coming in via a publication that you already know, and hopefully that best represents you. I'm not clear what Tatler adds, to be quite sort of transparent. I know Tatler from the UK. It's a certain style of publication. It sounds like it has more of a contemporary presence in Asia. And so if you're a local restaurant here, you're probably interested in tapping into that Asia market, so that, typically, particularly Chinese consumers and tourists, things like that come here, they spend money, they buy lots of wine. Restaurants want that, they want money, etc.
Right.
But if you're a restaurant and you're looking at things like best chefs and Michelin and that stuff, I would just be asking myself, what does this do for me? If you've already got bums on seats in your restaurant, you don't need this.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then how about, in light of these things that are happening, last year we had some predominant openings that we were really sort of excited about. I remember we were really like, oh my God. This year, a little bit different, so the openings that we've seen, obviously, Carbone, Royal Atlantis, Maison Dali with Tristan, Revolver. Have you had, have there been highlights for you? I want to know your take on this.
I'm going even more local. I love all those restaurants that you've mentioned, but seeing Girl and the Goose, seeing Chef Gabriella move from that supper club space into brick and mortar. She is a friend, I would disclose that, but just the pride. I've been to multiple events there. The team have managed it just perfectly. And also, I think there is a gap in the market for this Mesoamerican Mexican space. The gentleman behind Honeycomb Hi-Fi have just opened Cochina Tray. They put the work in, and they sat on that space for years. And they have hired authentically from Mexico. They care deeply. And unlike potentially a Corbone or some of the other places, what I think that team does best is a lack of pretension. And that is Girl and the Goose and Cochina Tray as well. Pie House, I also fit into there. That we have this space where it's like, sometimes Dubai is J1, sometimes Dubai is the marina, sometimes Dubai is this beautiful local space. And for those specific places, that's where I'm trying to back. Or even Orfali's, expanded into Three Bros.
Yeah.
Again, a casual space, still beautiful food, but that price point is a little bit different. You can bring your parents, you can bring your kids, and that's me saying this, and I work for who I work for, but I love there's a space for a lot of different people.
Liam, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this year's a little bit like last year in one respect, and that it's a game of inches and not feet. So standing back over the last 5 years, lest we forget there was COVID, then we are where we are now. I think there are a lot of concepts and restaurants that were put on hold because of COVID, and people were waiting for things to change, that openings could happen. And so I think we had this deluge at one point, maybe 2022, 2023, 2024, things like that, where there were, people having to come in and eventually do all the work to decorate the restaurants, hire the people, work on the menus, all that sort of stuff. I'm assuming, this is not informed, but I'm assuming that deluge is that wave is now sort of, rippling to a trickle. And what we're starting to see now, which I think is better personally, are people like Orfali, for example, people like Neha, for example, who are now starting to, here's my second concept, here's what's happening. I think that says several things. One, homegrown is where the attention should be, and it speaks more to the region. I think it has its finger on the pulse because people live here, cook here, work here, eat in each other's restaurants. I think they understand the consumer better, as opposed to here's this concept from New York, right? The next thing after that is that you're starting to see chefs become kingmakers. Orfali has a hand in Manau. Is he the only chef now that has two stars across 2 different restaurants in Dubai? Might be. I can't think of somebody else.
You could make the case for Avatara, but
True.
Okay,
yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Avatar as
Yeah.
well too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think you're starting to see that inching out as well too, right? Generally, in terms of the maturity in the market, and I think that's a very positive thing. You've mentioned Gigi in terms of Girl and the Goose. That's the maturity from a bit like Neha from the supper club coming up into the restaurant. And so I think you're not seeing as much of the big splashy look. There's this, pizzazz, but what you are seeing is, I think, probably more qualitative.
Yeah. I mean, I'd just be interested to know what the international markets think about what we're doing here, because there's so many amazing talents here. And when I'm keeping an eye on what's going on across the world, with Michelin and local chefs, we are really starting to
But what I'm
really
hearing
push.
is and I've said this for anyone who listened, for every time, there is a huge gap for Khaliji fine dining. Not even fine dining. Like, I know Gerbu has opened and they've had their success, but I do think, like the case of Chef Tala, her Bahraini cuisine, outstanding. It was one of my favorite meals that I had last year. I would love that to exist here with a Emirati developed. I know Chef Solomon is obviously in that third culture space, so is Chef Kelvin, but an authentically, because I've had, again, the journalists have come through, they've come to me, where do I go? And I can send them to Beit Mariam. Chef Salam is doing outstanding stuff, but I think they want something, and, Orfali, Levantine, but his cuisine is difficult to define, but people are really searching for that authentically Middle Eastern meal.
Do you think it would work if you were to put Khaliji cuisine, I'll try and be as specific as possible, let's say Emirati, in a setting like Rowan 45 or FZN? Do you think that would work?
I would love to try it. I would love to see somebody do it.
I think you need something more intimate. I think where Tala was very successful is that was maybe a 45 covers or 40 covers restaurant. She's on the floor telling the story as well too.
Okay.
So I think there's an intimacy that happens as well. And I think Emirati cuisine is not a cuisine that I think people understand intuitively, except for people who are in the community. And so what I think you need is a protagonist. You need a charismatic storyteller who can come in, who is part of the community, right? And be able to tell that story effectively. And what Tala did very well is also to tell it very progressively. So this is a very authentic flavor, whether it's black lime or something like that, but I've done this with it and I'm doing that with it, and this is with the background, and let me tell you about the fisherman who I saw this morning, and that sort of, that very, very rich personal storytelling. Or my dad and I used to do this as a child, and he hates what I'm doing with okra.
He'll say that. She'll literally say, like, she's getting, like the generation above her is like, what are you doing with this?
Yeah. Right. Okay. Because, I mean, I'm just trying to think, because I've spoken to several Emiratis about it, and they're in the 50-50, where it has to be sharing or to try and do it progressively. and I've also been going on and on about it. So when I first joined, when I was first here, my job was to do a tasting menu, but pure local. And the local, as in, the locals didn't like it, but the Westerners loved it.
Yeah.
So I think there's still room
Yeah.
to do it, and I would love to see it. Just be interesting, because I think you get. The other thing is that they tell me that they might get a lot of backlash that you can't change the recipes. You can't change the mother recipes, but of course you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course you can.
Yes. I mean, if you break down even something like hummus, like I could do chickpea,
Yeah.
lemon, tahina, and maybe whatever extra you want to put in there. Okay, break that down. Show me what that looks like when you not deconstruct it. We don't need to go that far, but like those are nice flavors that you can have like a take on it.
I'll give you a case in point, Courtney. I'll talk about your friend Massimo Bottura, who you had dinner with in the cellar.
Yes.
Make
Right?
mass.
I did. You know what? For reasons I can't disclose yet, I did have to email him this year.
Okay, very good.
And
very
I
good.
got a very kind response.
Okay,
Yes.
but he does a very famous dish called 5 Ages of Parmesan, right? You could potentially, and not potentially, you can do the same thing with chickpea
Yeah.
from a chef's point of view. So I would love to see it. Maybe
Yeah,
I have to do it. I have to
Anything,
do it,
and
I think.
the other thing that I think is brilliantly also wonderful about local cuisine, it tends to, there's a lot of great vegetarian stuff going on, right? So you can get stuff local, you have these spices, you have these stories. And again, DET as a government partner has been super supportive. I can say that for Studio specifically, but I think, we have partners that other markets don't have. We have true government support. They fly in the journalists.
Right.
They take out these things. They want us to succeed. Gastronomy is a huge part of their future plans. They have invested in Michelin. And so, if we had somebody to champion and say, like, let's go with this, I think you would have a support that other markets wouldn't have.
Okay.
I think that some restaurants have been doing elements of this well. I think Moonrise is probably the one that comes to mind in particular. Also Table. There's a couple of dishes at Table where they do champion local ingredients and they do things like fermentations and garums and things like that, where I think that's worth paying attention to. They don't talk about it loudly, but there are elements of this that's on their menu, right,
Okay.
where they speak to the dishes that they do. My feeling back to this point about how can you split these concepts? I was talking about intimacy. I don't see where you can't do both. If you look at a place like Dinner by Heston, for example, tasting menu, fine dining menu, on the weekend, Sunday lunch, very communal. And the Sunday lunch is very busy, right? So I think there is a world where you can kind of split these things out and you can have the more kind of communal, maybe on a Friday, particularly because of, the sense of community on a Friday, for example, right? You could bring people around a table and that will warm the hearts of the community. But then you can also go, here's my very progressive bit of where I think the culture should go. And maybe you have to have a foot in both worlds around here.
But then there would be the argument, alcohol or non-alcohol, or do you do both? Because I think that would be quite cool.
Yeah.
To think what you could do, because everybody's doing, their own home fermentations and things like that, of course. But if you're doing that sort of tasting menu concept, let's say, would it work? I believe it would.
I think
Yeah,
so.
I think it would.
I think in Ulstercall, which is just a hot spot, you have Middle Child also recently opened there. It's the expectation. So when I go to Ulstercall, I'm going to, see Chef Shaw, or I'm going to see Stasha and the team. And it's casual, but there's art galleries and people can spend money there. And so I think if it was placed correctly, you might have, or a bakery during the day and a fine dining at night, you see people using spaces in different ways. And so it's not challenging everything if, the daytime is, we love our coffee in this region, right? So we can always get that cup.
100%.
But then when we come back at night, it could be something that is activated differently.
Look at Woodfire, look at Manau.
Yes.
Those places have done, or Farley, they've done very well with the non-alcoholic. What I would really love to see is a BYOB in Dubai, as you bring your own bottle.
The dream.
Right.
And so that's the final frontier.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like that's a
Great for customer
JLT.
So I
value.
have two business concepts ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
Okay, done. But if we talk about we're talking about local chefs, and there's two local chefs in my mind, apart from the rest that we've discussed, who have moved on, who are opening new spaces or have opened new spaces. So first of all, Gregoire,
Yeah.
Kraken, again, he's going into his own space. It's dry. I haven't tried it just yet.
I'm going
been?
Tuesday. And I apologize to the team. They've been very kind and generous and invited me, and I have not been ignoring them. It's been a busy season.
Yeah, so I think I'm really looking forward to seeing
100%.
what's
I've only
happen
heard
there.
good things. I know people have been. I've only heard good things so far.
Which is really fantastic. And also, the original chef of the main, Saradi, he's just about to open, I think this week, his own space.
Well done.
Had a sneak peek.
Okay.
And it is phenomenal.
Can
Yeah.
you say where it is?
Yes, so he's been super smart on
Okay.
the location. He's gone to a community that doesn't have anything.
Is it Ymar South?
It's
Please,
JVT.
Oh, they don't have anything.
And it's on top.
You've walked those grounds.
It's on the 27th floor, I believe. The most incredible views
Okay.
of across JLT and Marina combined.
Yeah.
Well done, him.
Really beautiful, simple food. But I think he's going to do extremely well.
I've met him. And he comes with all that just.
And this is his, and
Yeah.
he's got some amazing touch points within the restaurant itself. He's got two sort of balconies, let's say, one of which is extremely large, but AC'd all year round.
Okay. We also have coming to market very soon. By the time this drops, is Chef Neha is opened her
Right.
in the process of opening her.
Right.
I won't even call it second because she's quite successful at Harrods. She took over a space. She was so successful to imagine to be at Harrods, and you're running this crushing it ramen, and then they say, you know what, you're doing so well. Actually, we're going to give you a sushi space. And now she's opening a third space, which is here. So we get to, and with the powerhouse, Panchali.
with Panchali, exactly.
So we've all just been like looking at the window and waiting for that. So hopefully soon.
yeah.
And shout out to Neha, because a lot of those concepts at Harrods have closed. Like
Yes.
there are bigger name chefs who are no longer in Harrods a year later since we did the last podcast, right? So the fact that she's thriving,
Yes.
and growing, and they're investing in her, etc. That says a
I
lot
think
for
we'll be
her talent.
talking about this restaurant next year for sure.
Love that. But you mentioned earlier Al Sokal. We have to give that place a massive shout out because
Yeah.
I feel it's
Is this still an art center? Al Sokal ? It's a
I've bought
food
art
hub
there.
now.
I have bought art there.
it is a food hub, I think.
It's
Yeah.
a food hub. It's moved
Yeah.
on. I would no longer. This is not a criticism, but I don't think it is an art space anymore. I think it is a food hub with artsy activities.
I'm
community
waiting for the
activities.
licensing to come in.
I think that might be.
Please.
Yes,
Say less.
I think we might be. But I think also what you see, Claudia De Brito is obviously she curated a wonderful What the Food
Yes.
experience this year. That was late October. The city needs more of that. Pedestrian friendly, easy to access. Okay, the parking was a little stressful,
it is what it is.
but everyone was out and about. I saw so many. I could not turn down a road and not see somebody from the community. And I think that I know they have another huge activation. I think late Jan or early Feb, but I would love to see more spaces like that, and every concept in there local. So I'm going in. I can get my nightjar, and then I can go see Carna Store, and then I can go see. And
Sure.
it's Shaw, and for the most part, dog friendly in there. So we love that.
Right.
Yeah. So I just think. I don't know where the next Alistair Call is, but somebody please open it soon.
Yeah, I think we need to do some sort of borough market-esque type place where
Wouldn't that be
it's
wonderful?
all sort of local and
Yeah.
pop-ups and storytelling and all of that sort of thing. And you also mentioned Middle Child.
Yeah.
Beautiful space, sort of semi-cooked,
Commercial and
the food blew me away. I have to say, simple but delicious.
Right.
She are indeed.
Genuinely,
It was
genuinely.
like Neha's transition from Supper Club to Space. I think the best chefs will always include you in their journey. And there's nothing to hide. It's to say, I will look at 5 different swatches of white to see what looks best on the wall. I'm going to make
Like my house.
30 kinds of white bread to make sure that this loaf is the best loaf. And I loved being part of that journey.
No, it was really wonderful. And of course, Stasha, again, friend of the
Pie
show,
House.
Pie House, what a concept.
You're slowly podcasting with everybody now, SoCal, aren't you? Like if we go around, this is it. Are you going to complete them all?
I'm probably,
like
do you know
Thanos'
what?
rings?
I was thinking, I said, in fact, I said to my wife yesterday, no joke. There's a gentleman who has a podcast called Ab Talks. It's a very famous podcast, and so he recently had Chris Martin on there, and people like
I've heard
this,
of him.
right?
Yeah. Breaking up marriages.
I believe, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't go to any sort of Coldplay concert. No, he has his studio in Al-Sakal, so I have to speak to the team there and be like, "Oh, hello guys. I don't know if you know, but
Yes. Round table. Yeah. Great spot for that.
But no, and I love the space. Genuinely, I think it's such a beautiful space, and what they're doing there,
It's special.
is really special. The other one is I have to talk about 25 Jump Street.
Yeah.
Now, for anyone who doesn't know, it's the first sort of licensed street in Dubai that's going to have lots of different restaurants. What are your take on that?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I saw Lorelai's video on Reels the other day where she was taking me through it. It seems interesting to see what's coming up. What I find most interesting are the people who are kind of going into that space. So Recast is doing a collab with Chris Fade, for example, and is that Pepperoni Comedy Club? I think it's
That's
called.
right. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting. I think it's interesting to see the flexibility happening with the licensing. I'd be interested to see how that is received all around in Dubai. I think a lot of people will be very glad. Just be interested to see where there's any kind of niggling
Reef
on the side.
is there as well.
Reef is there,
And
yeah.
Reef rarely misses. He
true.
is a gentleman who really knows his stuff.
Yes.
And if to me, if he's making a decision, it's come to very specifically.
Right.
We'll get into my favorite topic, which is traffic. So I live at the end of the world, and I know it does have an impact. So all these concepts are
not
great.
wrong.
The reality of me coming in from basically Maktoum into the city, I want it to mean something. And for most of the places I've been, it's been revisits this year because it's chefs I love, and I want to be a part of that experience. Taking a risk on something when you have to be in the car for an hour plus, never mind kind of each way. These are all choices, like it's opportunity cost. So I love the idea of a 25 hours. Am I the right demographic? I actually don't think I am. Could I go for lunch? Maybe, but I think I lose something in kind of like the vibes of it. And then you don't have to look very far. If you look down to the link at One and Only, they've had a tough year. That's had a tough year. Are they that different a concept? Because you're still inside, you can still be licensed. One is a very nice property and one is kind of like cool in 25 hours. Right? Get me away from all my favorite places. It's a really tough ask.
Has anybody opened close to you yet or not yet?
No, please.
Spinnies.
Anytime. Spinnies, yes.
Okay, very
but
good.
I'm still on Deliveroo looking every day. No, my husband's very kind and works in JLT and brings me pit fire home.
Okay. Yes.
But that's this point. We talked about this last year. Like, so people who we know talk to me in private and they say that, okay, the story of DIFC and Business Bay and downtown, all this sort of stuff was you want to get people in, you get the office people who spill out and then they have a little bit of a nibble and things like that. And you want to get them out the way because then the 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock team come in, right? And so you maybe have 2, maybe 3 sittings a night, in these areas. That's changed, right? So people are working from home more, right? You're not getting that kind of 8 p.m. sit down, that turn of table that's happening. I really don't understand why these restaurant owners are still opening up in areas like DIFC and downtown Business Bay, because that feels like that pie is contracting.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing more of are people opening up in neighborhoods. It still feels like Al Wasl is that area and that kind of Jumeirah corner. I think that's largely because of the chefs who are there and they're just kind of, extending more in their patch. But there are hundreds of thousands of people that live between Dubai Hills all the way down to that Al Qudra stretch that goes down to Mira and things like that. As a resident who's in that area, Dubai Hills Business Park is crushing, right? Those restaurants are busy all the time. And more people need to be moving out to where the people are.
Right. I find that really interesting, actually.
It's a captive audience. I think it's going to be first mover's advantage. It is the risk of being the first mover, right? Because this involves money. There's risks that are taken. It's not small amounts of money, but go out there.
But if you're smart with the menu,
Yeah.
if you do have your burrata,
They make money, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
It's funny because it's true.
Yes.
Right? You know, you have to do that.
I think every year on this podcast we should retire a dish, and what is the dish that we're going to retire?
Yeah.
Burrata's in the conversation for me.
Or truffle.
Yeah, that's the other one. It's
The other one is, Courtney, from your perspective, you said, you know, you've been contacted and you've, you know, hosted several international journalists. How have they been received here? Do they see, apart from the highlights and the superstars, are they also getting to see the street food spots?
I don't always believe so. It depends on the trip specifically. So the two journalists that came just specifically that I'm thinking of in the past 2 weeks, I directed them to Frying Pan Adventures. So I don't know if that's part of obviously that is seasonal, right? Because you can't send somebody down there in July.
Yeah.
But when people ask for kind of an authentic on the ground spot or place to go, that's where I send everyone. Because it's, you know, it can be intimidating to go into a city when you don't know how to go around. And I think that team, Arwa and her group, do such a fabulous job. It's a one-to-one relationship with all of the restaurants. But I would say probably we could be doing more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, just a little side spin from that. She's about to launch a television show called Ditch the Silver on OSN.
Well done.
Arva.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a really amazing
Well
thing.
done.
Yeah, well done to her, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had her Everybody Loves Phil moment, I think.
Yes.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody feed Phil.
Phil.
Yeah,
Last year.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Correct.
Everybody Loves Raymond got into my head. I was like,
But
sorry,
everyone
Phil.
does love Phil.
Well, I mean, it's his show.
but still,
yes,
yeah. Yeah, so it's really amazing for the region to also have her voice
Yes. Oh, 100%.
heard. But I also wonder again how much of the Khaliji story of food is being told. Have you read that?
Not
or
enough.
Really.
Yeah.
No, I think a lot of these things are as someone who does press trips, we do press trips. It all boils down to who's invited you on the press trip. So I've been on press trips where I was explicitly told you're not allowed to eat in any other restaurants. That's it. Bang. Right. So this is and I can understand. Like you've paid for the flight. You're paying for the hotel. Like all this. I get it. Right. That's absolutely fine. But I also think that those tend to be a certain type of press trip, whereas there's other ones I've been on, like Norbert, for example. I'll name him. Where I did a press trip with Norbert in, I think it was last year, February, and he was like, let me introduce you to my cheese. You did it as well too. Year before. Let me introduce you to my cheesemaker. Let me introduce you to this person. It's like, and so there's that pride of community, but that also speaks to Norbert and his personality, right? He's cooked the mountain. I want you to see what this region can do, right?
Anna Roche is the same.
He's
Hisha Franco is that like you go and get in and everybody knows her and it's still a small community and it's important to see people go out and about.
So I think the answer to the question is if international journalists and local journalists are not, you know, being shown these things, maybe it's a message to the chefs who, you know, have the capital and the gravitas to do this stuff. Like if you had to champion one person, right, that you know, whether it's a supplier or somebody else, who would that person be, and where does that fit in the sort of agenda that you have for these, you know, visiting writers?
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Look, the other one I wanted to discuss with you, because I find myself in a weird position that I am sort of half chef, half media, right? And this year in particular, I have been super bombarded with invites and press things and all of that kind of stuff, which is a privilege, and
Yes.
I'm
100%.
very fortunate to do that.
100%.
But being in that space, now, Liam, this is for you. First of all, I want to talk about, you know, the invites that we have, but not just that. There was something which I feel is being mixed, which is this huge message about Michelin and the different topics about whether people have got stars, chefs are Michelin chefs, and all of this kind of thing. So I think we need to set precedent, clear the table, and for really allow people or journalists or people in the media space to make sure they truly understand what is being said, because there are so many mixed messages everywhere.
Yeah.
So what's your take on this?
So look, there's a nerdish end to this, and then there's, I think, a customer facing end to this, which is more important. The nerdish end is that restaurants win stars, chefs don't, right? There's never been a Michelin starred chef, right? So, and if someone has told you that, they're lying to you, right? Or they're misinformed, as
Or
maybe
they're just marketing.
or they're just marketing,
Right.
right?
Which for the general public, I don't feel as strongly.
I think it's irresponsible marketing, right? And that's as far as I would take it. The problem with this is that the marketing people, the PR teams here, I think have bent the narrative in a way, and this is the consumer-facing side, where there are chefs in this city who have worked in other kitchens once upon a time, where those kitchens had at the time and continue to have 3 Michelin stars, 2 Michelin stars, things like that. That chef or that individual then moves over to this city, or maybe they just move to another restaurant within this city. And then the PR teams sort of bend themselves in knots. They cavort themselves into saying, oh, this is Michelin level or Michelin trained or Michelin rooted and all this sort of stuff. And so the reason that you're doing that is because you're trying to imbue a sense of caliber and quality and sort of almost gold-platedness about whatever it is that, that they're trying to pitch and promote. And then what happens is people then go to that restaurant and they go, well, this isn't what I thought it was, or I was left with this kind of impression, all that sort of stuff. And I see this happening over and over again in this city. And then I'll ask people, oh, how was that restaurant? They go, oh, it wasn't that great, things like that. And 6 months later, the place is empty, right? And I think, and I think the problem is not the restaurant in of itself, but there's this ballooning of expectation that happens. And I think also I'd say there's irresponsible writers in this city as well too, and food influencers who, talk up a big game about a place and that they create this balloon of hyperbole. And then you go, frankly, expecting, the best kind of experience on the face of the earth, and it doesn't live up to that expectation. Is that the restaurant's fault?
Right.
Not so sure. Probably their fault. They have that PR team, right?
But it's a huge narrative to say that, though, right? For people to say, well, this is without doing their due diligence is my point, because you'd think that the PR teams or the marketing teams.
Oh, well, I'll correct. I know we have our own food, kind of WhatsApp group. And if we all get the same press release, which I'm sure you do as well, and they say that, I'll just write back immediately and be like, this is incorrect terminology. Yeah. Don't use this. This is incorrect. Because
you will personally write back to the media.
PR. Yep. And I will correct.
And when you do that, what's the
I mean, look, if
do they say apologies, or are they like or blank?
I'm looking at this gently. So I am a 45-year-old woman. I've been in this space for a very long time. I've dined at some of the best restaurants. My understanding of the subject is very different than maybe a fresher, a junior associate. Right. She or he has gone into ChatGPT and maybe done a little zhuzh, and then they've sent it out because they have deadlines and they have multiple accounts, right? So I'm never mean about it. I'm just factual that because my restaurant has worked very hard to be in that space. It is a huge accolade, and you're taking something away from the chefs and teams and kitchens and restaurants that have done that, are Michelin Guide awarded, you could say, Bib Gourmand awarded. Semantics.
If they have a if they're in the guide, if they have an award,
correct.
That's
or
correct.
Don't say it, right? But I think. Help. There's so many awards. Maybe you've won a local award. Maybe you're a fact winner. Maybe you're a What's On winner. Go with that. There's nothing like those are excellent awards. If you're best in your category, fantastic. Like lead with that. It doesn't always have to be Michelin.
But then the invites this year have been unprecedented. I think
it's a deluge.
And having 6 events in one evening, it's extremely difficult. I think we're up against, how do you get around it?
I think we're up against the school, as a non-parent, but the schools are getting out quite early this year. It puts a lot of pressure. I think the season would usually have 2 more weeks at least, but when schools are out on the 5th for some, that now you've lost a whole month for your accounts to get people in, to get things launched, to have a new menu, to do all these things. I'm gonna do one positive though before we get into it, but the 2 best events and the events I say yes to, somebody sent me a car. It was super professional, and it was saying, I know traffic's bad. I know you don't want to get in your car again. I know that's the last thing you want to do. We're going to do this for you. And I thought, this is a budget thing. Obviously, not everybody can do that. But if you are trying to get certain people into your restaurant in a crowded market, think about how it is to get them to say yes. Again, I live very far out. But I will always say yes to saying you've taken that extra step to be professional. Maybe you got on my calendar very early, but we'll get calls on a Friday to go somewhere on a Tuesday. I'm booked out 3 weeks in advance. I can't just change and cancel on somebody. But we had a few weeks ago an award, a dinner, a holiday dinner, and then like 5 other awards and an event in Abu Dhabi. What do you say yes to?
Yeah. It's tough.
I think, it's sort of a tricky one because there's one bit of this where we could just talk shop and say like, oh, the burden of invites and all this sort of business. But I think for me, it's really, I can't write about this. And that's it. So if you're inviting me to this launch party, I'm never going to write 600 words going, dear reader, let me tell you about a thing I went to that you weren't invited to and now you can't go, right? No one's interested, right? There's no story there. So I think maybe the jobs for PR teams and chefs and restaurants and things like that is, think about what it is that you want this person to do, or how does this play to them. In my main job as a lawyer, when I want people to do something, I have to think about how can I communicate this to you in business lingo so that this has a business advantage for you, and what I'm selling you is your business advantage. If you are writing to me in the capacity, if you're reaching out to me in the capacity as a writer, you have help me find the 800 words behind this. Maybe help me find the publication that wants the story, right? But otherwise, if I have 6 or 8 different invites on a night, and I've got a son I have to put to bed, and there's calories that I'm trying to count and make sure that I'm not having in a week, that kind of stuff. It's like, where's the angle, right? Help me with the angle, because when I pitch to editors, that's what they're asking me is, what's the angle? Help me do my job. And also maybe send me a car.
Yeah. But I think there's nothing wrong.
Not maybe, yes.
Well, yes. But there's nothing wrong with saying, and look, you can work with Kareem. Like we have options in this city, but there is nothing wrong to say you have key opinion leaders, you have journalists, and you have influencers. Influencers can be the right call for a launch. You're getting eyes on this. There is absolutely, to use your marketing budget and PR team in this way. I do not identify as an influencer. I'm going to write as something where it should be meaningful. I want to have an opinion. I want to speak to the kitchen. I want to see what they're doing that's different. Maybe they have new dishes. Maybe it's a new season. These are things that excite me. Going to the top of a really tall building just to get my picture taken with a celebrity, I'm always going to say no to that. Yeah. So I'm sorry. Like that is not zero interest for me. I want to be at home with my dog and my husband. Full stop.
Can't write about it.
No.
Can't write about it.
So how about then this year? I've also seen the rise of the food halls.
Yes.
There have been some, we all know and are friends with Time Out Market, Dubai.
Yep.
They
Congrats on the podcast this year there.
Thank you very much. They've done a phenomenal job, but also, we have the likes of Neighborhood Food Hall, for example. Market Island. I haven't been to that, Liam. How is that place?
That's quite interesting as a space. It's quite large. It's a very, very large square footage inside of the mall, and what I quite like is that the mixture of different concepts that are there. So Kuya, for example, have moved out of Dubai Marina, right? So they're not there anymore. They are now in Market Island. That's their main space. And they're also there next to a concept that Masti have introduced, which is sort of their extension as well too, right? There's also the one, and then Shaw, who we all know very well. I think this is her third opening that she's done now, so which is a very, very tacos-focused, Tacos Camino, I think it's called. One that I thought was really interesting is the John Dory seafood bar, right? Where they've got the oysters, they've got sort of. I bought several boxes of anchovies because I love an anchovy. But in the back, they're now opening up a licensed space that's there. And I understand from the team at Market Island is that. There will be like a porter. This is very Dubai. There's like a porter or someone who can get the food for you from the restaurant area and bring it into the licensed space, and it will overlook the waterfront and things like that. So it is going to be quite a pucker looking area. I don't believe it's open now at the time that we're recording, but it is intended to be open very, very soon. The rest of Market Island, I would say, is probably what you're expecting. That there's an ice cream space, there's a bakery style place, there's a couple of coffee shops and things like that. Probably a nice little place to go to work if it's that you just want a quiet place to go and have a nice coffee and put your headphones on and do a couple of phone calls. But in the behemoth of a space that it is, it'd be very interesting to itemize all the concepts that are there today and then look and see who's there in a year from now. Right. Because I do think there's probably too much competition and it will just become survival of the fittest.
And I think, the neighborhood food hall space, I actually am a big fan.
Same.
Because it's nice and small, very dainty.
Yeah.
But it's got I think, everything you need,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Like there's food you want. Right? There's always an excuse to go because you're in the mood for one of those. And then if you have meeting friends and they don't want that particular cuisine, this is why that works. I'm also in Nikhil Mall once a week because of where I work.
Yeah.
And Depachika, still crushing it.
Yeah.
They have commercialized it a little more, so there's a little more things for consumers to buy. You just kind of either cheese or olive oil or this, but it is active. Chang has 1004 little in there, but Nikhil Mall has a lot of foot traffic. So it is getting people coffee dates, co-working, all of these different things. And I think they've responded to the market as well.
And with this explosion of food halls as well, there's also ones that haven't opened. So there was one that was meant to be opening up in Tcom in Al Barsha.
Timbuktu, right?
Timbuktu. I'm assuming that's not happening
Right.
at this stage because there hasn't been any noise about it for a while. And that's a shame, right? Because I also think that area of Dubai, that Barsha Tcom area, you could do a really interesting activation. That part of town is a very well connected part of town. And I think if you put in the right concepts in that part of town as well too, it would probably resonate very well, certain price point, all these other sorts of things. But it's competitive, right? So 5 years ago, whenever it was, a Time Out Market opened, it was disruptive, it was new, and people wanted to be part of that space.
Hugely,
Now,
yeah.
to our question about awards, are we reaching a saturation point? To be seen. I think to be seen, but we should be asking the question.
Abu Dhabi's supposed to get a timeout?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So,
it is.
and that's at Trade Center, I think?
I believe it's going to be in the new Saadiyat area.
Okay. And I think that's a great fit. I would love to know who's going in there. Maybe you know. I don't.
Maybe you don't.
Maybe he signed something. But no, to me,
Blink twice.
I think I think Abu Dhabi is still maturing. Look, we have and love Chef Troy or Chef Luigi. Seeing them maybe get to step out and kind of explore that concept. The timeout market system works. Saadiyat, and they've just opened the Natural History Museum. Like you can see it. It's coming.
It's coming.
And what a fun way to spend a day. Because the foodie in me can still go and enjoy any of these museums and then go get a really good meal that is, again, accessible. I love fine dining. I don't want to eat always. I think Phuket's is there. There are other concepts I would like to go enjoy.
Yeah, and actually, Marmalata, they've just opened another concept in the day.
Okay, go get a
not in the
slice.
evening. So it's called Barbosi,
Yes, I follow
right?
that.
And it's a sandwich place, very, very small.
Oh, yes, okay.
And they're only open for
Didn't know that.
3 hours a day.
Nice.
And they are, again, sold out.
This is like the fixed chocolate of sandwiches.
Yes,
That's
yes,
basically what it is.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. The other hot topic for me, again, from a hospitality perspective, is service. Now, again, it's one thing that I think for the past 5 years I discussed several times. We now have some major high rollers in the city, and at the same time, the level of hospitality seems to keep rising, or has it? What are we thinking?
I'm going to go and I'm going to name drop myself. I was published in the Financial Times this year
Yeah,
for
well
being
done, Courtney.
left-handed.
well done. Yeah, yeah.
So when I explained this, I was dining with, we had an international journalist at Tresson Studio, and we were dining and they were putting it left. Almost every restaurant in the city knows me and gets it right every time. And he had never heard of it. And I was like, the thing is, it's not, okay, I'm left-handed. That's 12% of the population. Everybody has their own left-hand switch.
like 1 in
There's
9.
always something that a diner is communicating, has nothing to do with the kitchen, has everything to do with the service team. And so the lesson is, what is your left-hand switch? And once you connect with a diner, it will blow their minds. And it pushes that experience to the next level. To your question, we are rising, but I'll say every year we're just not paying our staff enough. And the retention that you would see in a full-time, long-term waiter in a London who can earn a living at a good restaurant and would stay at that restaurant because there's so many concepts opening. I don't know about you, but I'll go to a place and I've now known this waiter through 3 restaurants. They recognize me and they're on their 3rd or 4th concept. They're like, oh yeah, we were at da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. So it speaks to me that yes, we're getting better because as concepts get better and we mature, it goes up, but we've got to pay for that service. We need to always just pay people more.
I book restaurants under a fake name. And the amount of, I think it's 2 or 3 times this year, I've gone to a restaurant and there's been someone who's gone, "Hey, Liam." I'm like, "Oh no, this person knows me," and it's because I know them from a previous restaurant. Yeah.
Can I ask, how do you come up with the names?
It's iterations of my son's name.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. But but the same phone number remains, or are you changing emails?
No, I don't know if I have got 2 or 3 different email addresses. I don't know if they.
The
look
good
at
ones will
email
look.
address.
There is not a deep dive, but I think if you are seating, if your covers are less, and you can have that time pre-service to kind of just do a little glance. This is what global teams do. If I go into a nice restaurant, 2 or 3 star in Italy, they'll probably know who I am because they did the research. Yeah. People don't just turn up at these restaurants for fun. And it doesn't, if you're empowering your team to either be on the floor and make decisions like a glass of champagne or something that is celebratory, whatever it is, I would love to see more empowerment. Most of the GMs are, I think, empowered to make decisions, but we could do more of that.
I think on the question about service, there's a couple of points on service. The restaurants, there's 2 types of service. One is the front of house, people on the floor. Then there's the chef experience as well too when they come out to the table. Let's park that separately. But in terms of the restaurants for me that I think really excel at service, is going to be Tres and Studio, Muntaha, Takahisa, FZN. Those are the ones that for me are probably like, if you need to go and find who are doing the best service in the city, they're in the conversation for me.
I have to add
the
Royal
best one.
45.
I haven't been there for a while, so I'm sure.
And I'm gonna, on the parked side, Kelvin is also great when he
Chung.
comes into,
But I would put him as the chef.
Agree.
The chef,
He is,
right?
he is,
So,
yeah.
so with that, you get, let's say, Gigi from Girl and the Goose. She's excellent when she comes out to the floor and talks to the table. Himanshu, obviously, as well. I think he's the one who has, I would say, taught people in the city how to do that.
I have seen it change. I was like, oh, you were not doing this table service last time, and now you are.
Yeah, Calvin's in the comment, but that's the chef side of it. What I would say about service, though, is that even in the restaurants that I've named, there's usually one person who's in the front, and it's them. They are the yardstick for the others. And what I'm not seeing yet is that trickling down to the rest of the team. There's some restaurants where you can start seeing it happen, but if that one person, and if I go to that restaurant and that one person is not there, I know that there's a palpable change in the service experience for the rest of the dinner, because that person is probably the champion or the hero,
right?
And it hasn't trickled down to the others. What I mean specifically about that, though, and this is really a comment for the fine dining restaurants in the city, is that in my experience, the best fine dining restaurants in the world when it comes to service, it's not the professionalism, the obvious kind of rehearsed. You can feel the training. You can feel someone going through the flashcards in their head, when you ask them a question, or doing left-hand switches or something like that. The best restaurants in the world, I want to go for a drink with my waiter after dinner. Like that sort of thing. Like we're really having such a great time. This person has completely made the experience. We follow each other on Instagram. And there's a closeness, there's an affection. And the person... It's like putting on a bespoke, well-crafted suit and then letting the bottom button out. And that's kind of it, right? Is that there just has to be this little bit of, I'm going to kind of breach the borders, but we're going to have a good time, and you're spending a lot of money, and that's fun. And I like to think that I'm a guest where I'm quite gregarious, I'm quite chatty, I want to have a laugh. I'll probably tell an inappropriate joke at some point during dinner. Meet my energy, right? In that sense, like meet my energy. There'll be some people, like maybe my parents, for example, where you probably shouldn't do that, right? But you as service, though, have to kind of read the table and go, who are you?
Yeah.
Are you guys here to have fun, or are you here and I'm meant to be in servitude? And I don't think that agility has found itself yet at the fine
Do you know
dining
who does
end
that
of Dubai.
really well in the city? Are the team from Dinner by Heston.
Yeah.
They really know how to read a table very well. They even give you the tarot cards.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
To tell you.
Yeah.
What
do you want?
level do you require?
Yeah.
But I think you're right. This is a hidden talent which needs to be nurtured.
Yes. And it takes time and confidence and all those other sorts of things, right? And I think that's important.
Mm-hmm.
So how about then trends that you'd like to sort of see or to stay, or perhaps trends that you'd like to sort of see the back of? Apart from burrata, of course.
Yeah, burrata is good.
Yes. I think, just having recently been to Cucina Tre, a slow, educated rollout of not rushing to market is really nice to see. Thoughtful approach. Or I think, again, Girl and the Goose opened in February, but they had the backing of Rowan and Ziad, partnering with people that are, Shaw, I was just speaking to her last night. She was giving advice to somebody just one-to-one. We are still that city. So the trend I want to see is that community, that it is always okay to reach out to somebody on Instagram, on whatever. If they have time for you, they will give it to you. I actually genuinely believe that. Trends, I want things closer. I think we're, like I said last year, hyper geographic. I want more things close to me. But I think diners are pinched across time and money, and to have, I want to go to these places. The reality is I can't, and I don't think most diners can. So it's having exceptional things in your neighborhood, whether that's opening things that are new or maybe refurbing or redoing a menu. I would love to see more of that. But there's not like a food specific trend. I think the BYOB is a very good idea.
It's a really good idea.
Yeah. JLT,
Thank you.
You're
Thank
the
you.
ones.
Yes,
JLT is the
Thank
ones
you.
to do it. Yeah.
I think so. Trends, so things that we should see more of, things we should see less of. On things we should see more of, we've been on this podcast before and we've talked about underrepresented voices in the city. If you look at people like Gigi, for example, and what she's done, it was, refining her craft, doing it inside of a supper club, for example, going to places like Geranium for stages and that kind of thing. And you can tell this is a person who is dedicated towards what they're doing. And she's now giving a voice to a cuisine that I would say internationally doesn't have a voice, and definitely in Dubai doesn't have a voice. Supper clubs are becoming the crucible for these things in Dubai, and with and without success, some people have been seeking investors in order to try and get those concepts, to see the light of day. There are places like, House of Vo, for example, to name drop a couple of places.
She's exceptional.
Five Spice as well. I'm hearing very great things about. CBF, for example, doing West African food. So what I would want to see more of are investors going in and trying this food, eating these dinners, maybe other chefs, etc., giving someone an opportunity, like what they do at Al Circal, for example, which is to get this person out and get them in front of people during a festival for a couple of days. And it's just, I think that's where the originality is. There's so much risk really tied to money in this city, that I can understand why we see more of the same thing, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But I think we need to champion more those voices that don't exist, and how do we give them the opportunity in order to get a bit of daylight, right? Connected to I was just listening to your Carney Store episode that you had recently, and I think what those guys were saying in terms of community as well, and we talked about Al Circal Avenue, I think we also need to see more of that, and that sort of coming together. And I think that is happening organically, but what I would say is please keep going. I will never get bored of this. Even if I don't attend, I'll always reshare, on Instagram what you guys are doing, and I'll encourage other people to go and all that stuff. I think that's the right thing. The thing we need less of in this city is copycatting. Right, we had one hand roll concept start here, and now we're seeing it happening all the time. Everywhere. Right, and this is the story of Dubai. It was a Peruvian wave, it was a Greek wave, it was a hamburgers wave, and for the longest time it's been some kind of variety of a Pan Asian wave. Stop this. I know why we're doing it, and it's because you have proven, proof of concept sitting in areas, and so investors feel safe putting their money in. But it is boring. It is boring. The city's starting to look the same.
Yes.
And that's a shame. So go back to these underrepresented concepts. Find a way to allow these people to test and learn and see whether it works.
Yeah.
But that's the future of, and we're a city now that loves homegrown. So let's lean into it. Where is the next homegrown space?
Yeah, chef-led experiences.
100%.
And they can be at every price point. It literally, it doesn't ever have to be, don't think that you're a chef because you have a supper club or whatever it is. You can start at any level.
And also, I think the other one for me, the biggest bugbear I have generally is that when you go to a new restaurant opening, the amount of money they spend on the fit out is absolutely ridiculous.
The designers are the winners.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. You need a place which is rough and ready, but just focuses on the service and the food, and that's it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Agreed.
Like, I just think
Or
they
they
waste so much money.
Spend a lot, and then you can see the snags.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's another
Yeah.
conversation altogether. How about predictions then for 2026? Because both of you have been very well known to predict, a few things here and there on the show. What would you like to see for 2026?
I know we have continually said Girl and the Goose, but I would love to see Girl and the Goose either at a bib or I think they just need to be included because
but she got Best Chef award, which is really
One
cool.
night.
It's
She has
huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
I will bang the Takahisa drum for anybody who
Takahisa,
continue
2-star.
just come in.
At least in, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like Moonrise can maybe make the jump.
Yeah, I think Moonrise will.
He's after the refurb, and I went and I could see Solomon has been taking his notes.
Oh, yeah.
And it is, again, we need more third culture. The other things we need more
He
of.
seems super focused as well when I
He
speak
does.
to him.
So
He's
I would
really
be over the moon on that. And then I think it's not going to be status quo, but we're just going to keep the things that are doing well will continue to do well. But we've got it, it does break my heart to go to places that I could off air give you some places I think will close in the next 3 months.
Right.
And I'm probably right.
Yeah.
I do think Panchali Neha will come in hot to market. So I think you could look for that. I don't know when all these specific markers come in and when that happens, but I expect them to be a big deal.
Nice.
Yeah.
Liam?
I think we'll see more of the same for what we've seen kind of over the last year or two, and that is it's going to be more of a game of inches, and people expanding into this concept, that concept doing well, coming up, etc. I think, and that's a good thing. I think there's the branding, Dubai is a brand, and the branding of Dubai is that it's dynamic and it's busy and it's big and it's splashy, and that's all very true. But I think also in food and in restaurants, because of the risk and cost that's associated with it, I think you're going to see a lot more sensible, smart kind of moves happening here and there. And I think that's the right thing to do, gradual. I can tell you what I would like. I would also like to see maybe a little bit of a shake-up happening with Michelin that we've seen in other countries. So Alina has lost a star.
Wow, yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's huge.
Right,
Alina, yeah.
Armani lost a star.
99 Sushi and
99
Abu Dhabi.
Sushi lost a star, and I'm not saying that like good like this thing, but I think it actually goes to the credit of Michelin that thou giveth and thou taketh away,
Sure.
right? In that sense, and so each year you're held accountable to your own standards and your own or to their standards and their success. And I think that's important for the credibility of the guide too.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot.
We could unpack that. Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack there. Now we have come to the quick fire questions, and it's an extended edition. But before I get into the quick fire, Courtney, last year I called sacrilege because you haven't tasted a Christmas pudding. I want to know, have you tasted a Christmas pudding last year?
What if I haven't? I actually don't.
I'm going to England.
No.
I will bring one back.
Actually, I think I did because we had an amazing Christmas last year with friends Dan and Nikki. I believe there was one present.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your memory seems very hazy with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
maybe too much.
No, do you know what it was? It was the mulled wine.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was that's
out there.
That's
brilliant.
one thing I don't like mulled wine.
Oh.
No?
It's ruined sangria.
Oh, wow.
Somebody has not made it correctly for you.
It's
Yeah.
ruined sangria.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Tick.
Good to know. Right.
Yeah.
So, talking of that. So, first question, and we'll do this. Ladies first, Liam.
Yeah,
just
go
shoot. So, naughty or nice?
This year. I'm trying to think of another N word, but that sounds really bad.
Yeah.
So scratch that.
Edit that.
Do you know what? Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Naughty, always.
All right. You're going to love this one.
Oh, shit.
This one.
Oh, God.
Eggnog or mulled wine?
Mulled wine, please.
I'm going to go eggnog. We have something in Trinidad called poncha creme. Maybe you have it in Venezuela.
Poncha crema,
Poncha
yes.
creme? Yeah. So
That's
it's
my
kind of like
favourite.
that. Yeah,
That's a good
yeah.
one. Gingerbread cookie or fruit cake?
Oh, cookie.
Cookie?
Yeah.
Fruitcake.
Fruit cake. Cheese board or cold cuts?
Cheese board.
Cheese board.
Fromage.
Yeah.
Fromage. Okay, bonnet de douche, fromage. Okay, very good. Best Christmas movie for you?
Well, I think I'm an elf girl. Yeah.
Oh, I'm torn. Can I pick two?
Yes.
Okay, it's either Die Hard, which I'm still going to put as a Christmas movie, right?
Yeah.
Or Home Alone.
Oh, good
One
choice.
or two?
One.
Okay.
I'm a one guy.
Michael Bublé or Mariah Carey?
It's Bublé.
Bublé
Bublé
all
all
the way?
day.
All right.
Yeah.
I might go Bublé.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. New Year's resolution, please.
Ooh.
Oh, goodness. James,
that's not a quick fire
James,
question.
you're coming at me. Okay. Professionally, there's a big project that I want to support. It will succeed. I want to be a big part of that.
Okay.
That moment.
Right. Personally?
Personally, yeah, probably exercise. I know that's like this. No, but genuinely,
Right.
I have not been good at exercising this year. So I think, a little more interest in my own fitness.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Liam?
Professionally, I keep talking about this long-term project that for the last couple of years,
Yes.
right? That will see the light of day. We will be talking about that openly, hopefully next year when you invite us back, hopefully.
Right, of course.
So I think doing that proud
Right.
would be my professional resolution for next year. Personal, I think hopefully just be a good dad.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And I have to ask before we get into how's the Italy project going, by the way?
I saw a picture. It's not good.
I mean, I'm reading about it on Substack, and both of your Substacks are amazing, by the way.
Click, like, subscribe.
Of course.
Start a GoFundMe
Of
for
course.
this.
If you want to support a corporate lawyer, a part-time writer with a folly in Italy, let me know. This is going to be an incredible house. And for those of you who don't know and all that sort of stuff, so I bought a 120-year-old villa in Piemonte about 4 years ago. We started the renovations on it. Excavations feels more correct, but we started the renovations on it this year. It was going so well for the first 3 weeks. And then we've discovered that the 120-year-old steel beams that are in the floor of our kitchen, ceiling of our basement, have essentially decomposed to ashes. And so we've had to pull this up, and I sent Courtney a photo of what has to be like a basketball-sized hole that's rusted through inside of a steel beam. I'll show it to you afterwards, but maybe we can post it in the notes of the podcast. But it's one of those things where you don't know what the issues are going to be, but you start to scratch and you find stuff, and so this is it. So yes, it's an expensive folly, but when it's done, it's going to be magnificent.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I need any advice on Italian,
Well, I'll go visit one day.
Oh yeah.
I'll be outside shaking a tin for money.
I was going to say, I think the cellar's going to be incredible as well. The other one is, so I want you to tell me. And again, you don't need to name names unless you want to.
Yeah.
Funniest Christmas or lunch disaster, please.
I'm going to go Thanksgiving.
Oh, Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Expats, Thanksgiving, very important to me, especially my husband. It's a big deal because a lot of people haven't had Thanksgiving before. We're living in Doha. I had ordered the turkey from a very nice restaurant at a very nice property. Mm-hmm. Go to pick up that turkey. My sisters come in from the States. I have 20 people coming over.
Whoa.
Oh, madam, we don't have a turkey. We have this for tomorrow. And I was like, no. They were really like, cut to me, just like, what do I do? What do I do? Went home very angry. Turkeys did appear at my apartment. But there was a 2-hour period where I was just like, I don't know what to do about this. Now I would tell myself, you can always serve pizza. You can always give people, correct. There is always an option, but to go to a place when you're hosting with the main character not present, I had a Karen moment. I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Vegan Christmas.
I could just imagine, I mean, I'd like to have seen that, to be honest. I mean, that specific, when they're like, turkey?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And you can't just
Turkey?
produce a turkey. It's not like something you can just
Are
go,
you talking about Istanbul?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Put it in the air fryer.
It was a sad day. We were covered. Obviously, I would have never booked with them again.
Right.
But that was a scary moment. It passed. There's many, many more important things in this world. But a lost turkey was almost a holiday. Don't.
Oh, mama. Okay. Liam?
This is Christmas related. It's kind of tangential. So I remember being about maybe 6 years old. I'm trying to think of how old I was when I was in school. And it was the last day of school before you break up for Christmas, right?
Right. So you're excited anyway, right?
Yeah, everyone's fizzing and there's probably been some kind of, I don't know, school play or something
Christmas
earlier
pudding.
that day.
Right,
yeah.
right, yeah.
All this
Fruitcake,
stuff.
gingerbread.
Fruitcake,
Yeah.
It was like Jamaican full of rum already.
Yeah. Well, put a pin in that. And then so the teacher goes around with a piece of paper and says, everyone draw what you put out for Santa the day before Christmas. So of course everyone's there with crayons and stuff, and they're all drawing different things. And the teacher goes around and they can see cookies and milk and all this stuff. And then the teacher comes to me, you can see the eyebrows sort of fusing together, and it's like, what is that? And there's this like these two little discs there and a glass, and the teacher says, what is this? And I go, in my house we leave out a brandy sifter and 2 paracetamol, right? And then my later fast forward to a scene where my parents are frog marched into a school, right? Because a 6-year-old has identified that Rudolph is left with basically like an enormous Armagnac and 2 paracetamol, and my dad, who was also a lawyer, basically went, the problem is that you asked the question, and in our house that is what we leave out for Santa the night before Christmas. Santa has an enormous brandy, right, and 2 paracetamol before Santa goes to bed, right? So it's not my son, it's the question. That's the problem.
Brilliant.
So that's my favorite memory.
Brilliant.
I love this for Santa.
Yeah.
For Santa.
You only know what
Are
Rufus
you
says
are
in
you
school.
going to continue this tradition for Rufus?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah.
For sure.
I love that.
Yeah.
I really love that.
Yeah.
You know, the one I have is so when I was working in London in starred kitchens,
Yeah.
I came home one day and I managed to somehow get 3 days off, and
you.
it was during Christmas.
Well done you.
Right, and my mum decided to have I think about 20 people come. And for me back then, sleep was gold. So she was like, James, people are coming, just make sure that everything is ready. And I was like, yeah, Mum, I'm going to have everything ready. And the guests were coming at 7. And I slept, and I obviously went out the night before. Obviously.
As is tradition.
Yes.
You know, and it was a long night, shall we say. And I went to bed, I think, at around 11 a.m.
Oh.
Yeah. And my mum came in at 4 p.m. and she was like, James, the guests are coming. You need to get everything ready. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I said, I'll do it. It's fine. Anyway, long story short, I woke up at 5 and I was still in like aggressive London Michelin James.
Yeah.
Yes.
Smashed it out within 2 hours.
Okay.
Saved the
Well
party.
done. Well done.
And my mum could not believe it. She was like, I cannot believe you've got everything ready in 2 hours. And I was like, yeah. And then just got on the drinks again.
In my mind, you had like a samurai
Yeah,
bandana around the
yeah.
head and just like montage. Dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun,
The
dun,
funny
dun,
thing is,
dun.
I had the aprons we were wearing back in London. I had one at home. So as soon as it was on, I was like, everybody
That's it.
out.
Get in gear.
Yeah. So
Well
I have
done.
met your mom and she's very nice.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I can't, she wouldn't have been, but a woman who's having a party, you do not mess
No,
with her.
no,
You
not at
are,
all.
if you are delivering this, you are delivering this.
yeah.
That's
and
it.
and she's a lawyer, doctor of law. And so she is very much like, just make sure everything's delivered on time.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Anyway, I was just, I don't know how, to be honest, but adrenaline.
Well done.
But it was good. Finally, is there a special Christmas message that you'd like to give to the viewers and the listeners, Courtney?
Oh, no, I'm going to think on that a minute.
Oh, I'll go.
Yes, please.
So for all the people who are working in hospitality this year, good luck. And for all the people who are, say, going to one of the wonderful brunches that we have in this city, going out for a lovely dinner or something like that, please take the time to go around and thank everyone. If you see the chef in the kitchen, tell them thank you, hug your server, tip generously, all that stuff. This is a rough job, and in a city where 90% of people are expatriates, I can guarantee you the person who's serving you, their family are back home and they're away from them. So a lot of gratitude on Christmas goes a long way.
Yeah, and be patient. It's a lot of people with very high expectations. And, these people are serving you food. And it's a huge component of the holiday. So and that applies to New Year's as well. Just be patient.
Yeah.
Just be patient. It's just food. It's going to get to you. You will get your cheese and your other things. Same goes if somebody's delivering you something.
Yep.
Just be patient. It is a hectic time of year with a lot of pressure. And thank you to anybody in hospitality, because you guys are the ones that make it. These are huge families. My neighbor said her group on Christmas Day is 40. It's a group of 40. So I would go to the ATM. I would get out a certain amount of cash, and that would go into the hand of the servers.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, if we just exclude Dubai for a minute, globally, everyone is, seems to be under super stress, with deadlines and all of that kind of stuff. So I think you're right about hospitality and just making sure that, yes, patience is there 100% and just a general thank you and tip generously. I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
Chill out, get another drink. It's Christmas.
Exactly. Courtney, what are your plans for Christmas?
I am very lucky to be hosted by my friend Dan and his wife Nikki. And I will have this year my parents, and for the first time, my mother-in-law. In 19 years, she has not come over, and she is doing her inaugural voyage to the UAE. Expectations are high.
The West comes to the East.
Wow. Yes.
Wow, amazing.
We're very excited. It will be dogs. It will be Christmas crackers. It will be lots of mulled wine. And I don't know why people leave Dubai at this time of year. Whatever you're celebrating, I know it's school break for some and Christmas for others, but this is the time to be here. It is beautiful outside.
Wow.
Like, stay here, spend your money here. Don't get on a plane and go to a cold country. Like, do that later. Yes.
Okay.
So I'm forever looking forward to Christmas Day.
That's really nice. Liam?
We don't have any specific plans. Some of my wife's family might be coming, but what I would really love to do on Christmas Day is like maybe just go to the beach or play it spontaneous. Like, don't kind of plan too much. Just, we spend so much of the rest of the year planning, thinking, doing this. Can I fit that in? Like, what would waking up on Christmas Day with no plans look like? That actually might sound quite nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if anybody didn't know from before, how can they get hold of you through social media, please?
I think the easiest way would be to go to my Instagram _Courtney Brandt _ and you'll see links there. The Substack that you mentioned, the weekly A to Z, is entirely free. I do paid subscriptions that have very critical and honest reviews, but
They do.
But the newsletter will always be free. It is a place to just hang out on a Saturday morning.
Love it.
Yeah.
Liam?
Instagram, it's Liam Collins. Also quite busy on Threads. I do a lot of threading, it seems. And then also Substack as well too. So Liam Collins on Substack.
I will, of course, place all of those details in the show notes. The only thing that's left for me to say is, once again, thank you very, very much for making the pilgrimage, the annual pilgrimage this year, every year to be on the show. Your voices are truly inspiring in every single way possible, and I not only am I'm a huge fan of both of you, of what you do.
Thank you.
It's your voices are really important in the community. Genuinely, I want to say also have the most phenomenal Christmas and New Year, and next year let's see how we can ramp things up, shall we say?
I'm hearing Italy, Italian recording.
Maybe we should do that.
Yes.
Next year.
And back to you though. Thank you for bringing this community together.
Yeah.
It is. I download this every week. I learned you have thoughtful questions in podcasts. A lot of people can do podcasts. I don't think a lot of them can do it well. So thank you for giving voice to a very diverse section of our industry.
Yeah, I think you've done a really good job with this from it not existing to where it is today, the guests that you have in, and I think also there's certain causes that you champion and you focus on different themes in an individual year. Particularly, you had a focus on mental health at one point as well too.
Yes.
That's very, very good. So not only do you have such a great platform, but you have a platform that you're using very well. So congratulations to you.
Thank you, legends.
Cheers.
See you next year.
See you next year.
Yes.
Ting, 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 ting.
What an amazing show. Thank you to those two legends for joining us and giving us all the juicy gossip. The only thing that's left for me to say is Happy Christmas. Have an amazing time. And can you believe that the next show is going to be the very last of the season? So make sure to join us. And please, 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 during this festive season, make sure to say thank you to everyone within hospitality. And if you are working this year, thank you as always. Make sure to also take care of yourself. I'm very, very much looking forward to the festive season. And it's actually Christmas Day, believe it or not. So super, super exciting. And I hope you've all enjoyed my beautiful jumper. Some people call it an ugly jumper, and I disagree with them. This is one of the most beautiful jumpers in the world, right? Yes. Anyways, I digress. A very Merry Christmas. And until next time, food is memories.